Good afternoon. I'm Lieutenant Tina Jones, a PIO with the Portland Police Bureau. We are here today to celebrate a momentous point in our journey with the City and DOJ settlement agreement. And first, I want to take just a minute to recognize media for attending and coming on short notice. I know that we started the day with a flurry of media interviews with Chief Resch, and we appreciate, the quick turnaround for this. This is big news, and we want to make sure that we have the opportunity to share some information with you. So, first, I am pleased to introduce Mayor Ted Wheeler.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, good afternoon, everyone. As you've just heard, today is a very important day for the Portland Police Bureau and for me as Police Commissioner. My vision for the Portland Police Bureau has been consistent over the years: to strengthen and enhance policing, to encourage the Police Bureau to be more reflective of the community, and to help the Police Bureau to become more accountable to the public that it serves. While today's announcement doesn't end our work, it represents a major milestone on the path towards increasing accountability. After years of hard work, the City of Portland has just received a letter from the Department of Justice which indicates that the city is in substantial compliance with the DOJ settlement agreement. Why is this significant? As former Police Chief Daniel Outlaw said on many occasions, substantial compliance represents a significant milestone for the city achieving accountability. This accomplishment represents the city taking specific, concrete steps to address community concerns about use of force training, supervision, management, and accountability. We've arrived at this point after 6 years of hard work on the part of the city, Police Bureau, and the community at large. As a city, we've all worked tirelessly together to embrace and enact the settlement agreement. Some background. All the way back in 2011, at the request of the City of Portland and community members, the United States Department of Justice agreed to investigate the Portland Police Bureau. The City and the Department of Justice developed a plan to address the findings and to improve PPB's provision of services to the community. This resulted in a negotiated settlement agreement approved by the court in 2014. The Department of Justice initial findings letter concluded, while most force used by officers in Portland is appropriate, DOJ found reasonable cause to believe PPB engaged in a pattern or practice of using excessive force in encounters involving people with actual or perceived mental illness, and officers used the taser in numerous instances in a manner contrary to PPB policy. The DOJ found deficiencies in policy, training, and supervision, and deficiencies in the overall mental health delivery system. The DOJ concluded gaps exist in the state's mental health system, which led to an increase in police encounters with people with mental illness issues, including people who are in crisis. These gaps still largely exist today. As Mayor and Police Commissioner, I take the work on this agreement very seriously. The DOJ made well over 120 specific recommendations for improvement, including having all officers receive crisis intervention training, work on de-escalation techniques, and increase community engagement. And PPB went immediately to work. The true test of any organization, or any person for that matter, is how they respond to the challenges at hand, especially one that can be difficult to hear or to acknowledge. When challenged to do better, be better, and evolve, the Portland Police Bureau answered the call. Among other things, PPB has revised its force policies, improved its force training, and implemented a rigorous after-action supervisory review process. PPB has increased the number of supervisors on the street and increased supervisor training. PPB created the Behavioral Health Unit and expanded the Behavioral Health Unit mobile teams to 5. They proactively addressed accountability by creating new systems to audit all uses of force and to track other performance dimensions. And at my direction, the PSEP, which is the Portland Committee on Community Engaged Policing, has been created to replace the old COAB. I'm very happy to report that PSEP is actively pursuing efforts to increase community outreach and engagement. The goal of PSEP is to improve community trust in the police. Even with all of these changes, I want to underscore there is more work that needs to be done. We need to collectively provide more services and support to people experiencing mental illness, and we need to continue to explore ways to reduce uses of force, including deadly force. We also know that we have work to do to address racial disparities in the criminal justice system. The city and PPB are committed to continuing to do that work, as am I. In conclusion, I'm extremely proud of all the work that's been done to achieve this recognition by the Department of Justice. I want to thank the hardworking members of the Portland Police Bureau for their professionalism on implementing the agreement. I want to thank my colleagues on the City Council, both those who are currently elected and those who have previously served on the City Council, and all of our partners at the City Attorney's Office, especially Tracy Reeve. Thank you, Tracy. And of course, U.S. Attorney Billy Williams and his team at the United States Attorney's Office. I also want to thank the Albina Ministerial Alliance and the Portland Police Association for their support and involvement in the implementation process. I want to thank my staff who've worked tirelessly to help accomplish this goal. My Chief of Staff, Kristen Dennis, Policy Director, Nicole Grant, former Senior Public Safety Advisor, Burke Nelson, and Senior Policy Advisor, Robert King, have all helped my administration on our work to accomplish this important goal. And finally, I want to thank every Portlander who's helped with the implementation of this agreement, been patient with us as we've made these significant improvements. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Wheeler. Next, I have the pleasure of introducing Chief Jamie Resch.
Thank you all. I met with many of you this morning, so I appreciate you coming back on such short notice. Today is an important day for the Police Bureau, and I want to start out by thanking many people. First, and especially to the men and women of the Portland Police Bureau who have embraced change over the course of several years. Change is not always easy, and we have made substantial changes over the years, which means Bureau members have had to learn new skills, be open to critique, be held accountable at an increased level, and continuously strive to improve. Also internally, I would like to thank the PPB DOJ compliance team, as well as members of our Professional Standards Division, Training Division, Community Engagement Unit, Strategic Services, Policy Team, and countless Bureau members who have worked tirelessly on many initiatives which have made us successful. I'd like to express my appreciation to the members of the Department of Justice assigned to this settlement agreement and the Portland Compliance Officer Community Liaison, our partners at the City Attorney's Office, and U.S. Attorney Billy Williams and his staff. To our community, thank you. Thank you for working with us, often through difficult conversations. Your input and support throughout these changes and moving forward are critical to our success. Oftentimes, I feel as though these changes are reported as PPB versus the community, when in fact it is a collaborative effort. Through our work with the Department of Justice and with the community, we have made significant changes to the Police Bureau. These changes have increased our ability to hold ourselves accountable and to assess our own performance and to see where we need to make further changes moving forward. The changes we have accomplished will continue to have positive impacts directly in our community. There are many critical and important accomplishments, but I want to highlight a few. We made substantial changes to many of our policies, including our use of force policy. We implemented those changes only after significant feedback from our community. We also changed the process to review and revise our policies and to increase transparency and provide greater opportunity for public input. We made changes in training as well. While we already provided and continue to provide every officer with crisis intervention training, we added de-escalation, equity, implicit bias, and procedural justice classes for all officers. We also created a specialized group of volunteer officers who have received enhanced crisis intervention training and who respond with specific calls involving those experiencing mental health crisis. We created the Behavioral Health Unit with mobile teams pairing an officer with a trained clinician from Project Respond to work proactively with individuals experiencing mental illness who have multiple or high-risk contacts with police. We restructured and expanded our accountability systems, creating a force inspector and adding force auditors who now audit all uses of force. Additionally, we track and audit all use of force involving persons experiencing mental illness or in mental health crisis. Those functions are now overseen by an inspector general who reports directly to the chief of police. Internal affairs investigations are also more timely, and the majority are now resolved within 180 days. We have increased our transparency. On our website, we provide quarterly reports on force for anyone to read. We also have an interactive dashboard, historical reports, and summaries of officer-involved shootings, including investigative files and grand jury transcripts. A common misconception is that substantial compliance with a settlement agreement will result in 0 officer-involved shootings. Being in compliance means that we have done everything to minimize using force on those experiencing mental illness. We will continue to seek ways to minimize the use of deadly force, particularly in interactions with those people experiencing mental illness, and we share the community's desire to reduce and ideally avoid all uses of deadly force. It is also true that police officers must be prepared to protect others and themselves in dangerous, dynamic, and chaotic situations. This sometimes means officers find themselves in situations where they have to use deadly force to protect themselves or others. We take any use of deadly force extremely seriously, and all such uses of force are thoroughly investigated. For example, when a use of deadly force results in death or serious injury, we conduct a criminal investigation and forward the case to the Multnomah County District Attorney's Office for consideration to convene a grand jury to determine if there is any crime related to the officer's actions. We also have a robust internal administration review process, which includes civilian participation to determine if the officer's conduct was within policy. In addition, all officer-involved shootings are subject to an external audit by OIR Group, and we take their recommendations for improvement very seriously. We understand that we are here to serve all Portlanders, and we cannot effectively do that if we do not have a relationship with the members in the community. We are committed to widespread and meaningful community engagement, especially at a time when many people in our community feel vulnerable. We created a community engagement plan with goals and strategies. This includes reaching out to historically marginalized communities, as well as building back up many of our advisory groups. We are grateful to the Portland Committee on Community Engaged Policing for their contribution to our community engagement plan, and we will continue to seek their advice and feedback. Substantial compliance is a great accomplishment, but as mentioned, our work is not done. There is no finish line. I have been asked countless times by community members I have met since my promotion, what do you need and how can we help? This is my answer. Publicly support us, engage with us, do not rush to judgment, help us promote the excellent work of the Portland Police Bureau, and recruit the next generation of officers. And I will continue to commit to working together on what our community wants and expects of its police bureau. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Resch. We have time for a few questions if anyone has any that they'd like to pose. And if we could just ask that you introduce yourself and say which outlet you're associated with, we appreciate it. No questions? You guys have spent all day with us. You can't be bored. Max.
In October, the PSEP, one of the co-chairs of the PSEP, Liana Curry, I believe, had presented a resolution for the committee saying that the city compliance officers' findings, similar findings that the Bureau was in substantial compliance, was premature, and that it goes along with the chief's statement today. I mean, he's questioning how do you measure the impact of these reforms if police shootings continue to be up of people who are in crisis. So how do you measure the fact that there have been reforms, there's changes in training, changes in policy, but how do you measure the impact on the street with the community?
Chief?
Want me to give that a shot?
I'll give the general and she'll give the specific. As the chief indicated, this is not a guarantee that there will be no use of force. or that there will be no mistakes made by the Portland Police Bureau in carrying out the important work that they do in the community. What this is about is ensuring that they have the training, the supervision, the practice, and the protocols to minimize the possibility of use of force that's not compliant with the policies of the Bureau or the training that people receive within the Bureau. And so if you look at the totality of each of the recommendations, each and every one of them is about training, supervision, policy directives, use of force, best practices, measurement of how we're doing with regard to accountability, and transparency in reporting to the public or engaging the community in a substantial way. And what this substantial compliance finding by the U.S. Department of Justice indicates is they believe we have done all of the things that they have asked us to do to increase the opportunities for good outcomes by the Portland Police Bureau. But again, it's no guarantee, and I just want to underscore the point that both the chief and I made. You'll notice we're not coming in here and celebrating, even though this is a very important milestone along the path towards improving accountability of the Police Bureau. We have both said that there is work that needs to continue to be done. I have pledged that the Portland Committee on Community Engaged Policing, PCEP, is not going to go away after the settlement agreement achieves substantial compliance. I hope it continues for a long, long time after I'm gone, whenever that might be. I intend to keep this as a tool throughout the remainder of my administration as a community engagement tool, and I hope future mayors will do the same, because it's proven to be a very, very important public engagement tool for the Portland Police Bureau.
Thank you. Nothing to add to that? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Rebecca from OPB. This may be a dumb technical question, but substantial compliance, does that mean that there are parts of the agreement that you guys haven't met, or is that just sort of a term to say, you know, you've ticked all the boxes?
That almost
Tracy,
sounds
can you-
like
I
a legal
asked
question.
Tracy, I asked Tracy this very question
Yeah.
because it
Do
is
you
a
have
bit of a
one?
misuse of the English language, so I will let Tracy explain
This
what
is
it means
Tracy
legally.
Rees from our city attorney's office, and that, I think you might be best suited.
So substantial compliance is the standard of compliance that's set forth in the settlement agreement itself. And what it means is that the city has, in essence, complied with its obligations under the settlement agreement. The reason it uses the term substantial compliance is simply that there could be some, you know, out of a 100 and however many paragraphs, it's a very long settlement agreement. There are a lot of obligations, and it could be that you're 99.5% compliant with something, but in some way there's some very minor technical noncompliance. The term substantial compliance is similar to, really, not to be too technical, but a settlement agreement is in essence a contract. And in any contract, when you're measuring whether the terms of the contract have been fulfilled, that's essentially the standard. It's whether or not you have materially complied. And it just means that if somebody has done 99.5% of what they're supposed to do, they've fulfilled their contractual obligations. So it's lawyerly, that's why the term is used.
Thank you. All right. Thank goodness we have the lawyers in the room. Whew, we got that out of the way. All right. Any final questions? Yes.
My turn at KXL. Obviously, there's been a change in process with all the training, additional training that police officers have received. What is going to take place now in the decision that an officer makes before using force on someone? Is there a step-by-step process reviewing their training as they go through this situation that they're in where they may have to use force?
So if I'm gathering your question right, are you asking if after the event has occurred, do we go back and look at what training was made or what decisions were made?
Look at it in hindsight, but while it's happening, what kind of thought processes are taking?
Right, that's where, so as officers arrive on scene, that's where all of the training is going to come full circle, right? The de-escalation training, the procedural justice training, the implicit bias training, tactics, while we're continually looking for new and better, less lethal options. All of that stuff is taken into effect, and it can happen in a matter of seconds. So everything that the officer is trained to do, and that's why we repetitively train on things, because when you're placed in stressful situations, you revert right back to your training. So that's why it's an ongoing training. And like I said, all of those things are taken into consideration: your surroundings, the type of call it is, have you interacted with this person before, what are my less lethal options, how many other officers are around. All of that stuff is taken into effect in the blink of an eye, basically. And then all of that is reviewed at a very, very fine level.
Question for the chief. There's some people in Nick Portland.
Yep.
There have been some people in the police accountability community that have looked at this and said this has been a tremendous amount of energy and focus that maybe has sapped energy and focus away from areas that would have been more productive to make reforms. I wonder if you agree with that, and if so, what are the reforms, or regardless, what are the reforms in accountability that you would like to focus on now specifically?
No, I don't think this has been negative at all. I think this has had a great impact on the Bureau and our ability to hold ourselves accountable, and on our ability to show the public how we hold ourselves accountable. I don't think this has been negative in that manner in any way, and I think we're going to continue to look for ways to show the community what we do and why we do it, and to be as transparent and as accountable as possible.
I just want to again thank everyone for your attention. We also are recording this, so we'll post it online if anyone missed it. But again, thank you, and thanks to everybody who was able to show up today, and to our teams who made this day possible.